Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar in our 2018 webinar series. Today we are going to talk about the DAAD funding that's available for undergraduates and graduates for the academic year 2019-2020. Before we jump in, I just wanted to briefly introduce ourselves. My name is Hani Geist. I'm the representative here in the DAAD Information Center San Francisco, and this is a joint effort. I'm really happy that Jean-Paul Kleiner could join us. He's the Senior Manager, University Relations in the DAAD Information Center Toronto. And also with us today is Myung-Shin Kim, and she's the Senior Program Officer in the DAAD New York office, and she's responsible for a few of the scholarships and grants that we're going to talk to you about today. So you really have all the experts here, and you can, of course, ask questions later on. And also, you see the email addresses here. If you have any questions at some point later in the application process, visit our website, but then also, of course, get in touch with us. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. So I am actually... let me double check. Yes, I am recording. Just wanted to make sure. So this webinar is recorded. I will also upload the presentation later on. You will get an automatic email after the webinar with those links, so you don't have to take any notes, and you can look at that later on. Again, if you would like to get in touch with us during the webinar, if you have questions, please feel free to use that question box and just type in your questions. Again, feel free to type in those questions as they come up, and I will, some of them I may answer them right away, and other ones I will save them for the Q&A later on. So this is my general introduction. I hope you can all hear us. And without further ado, I'd like to ask my colleague Jean-Paul to give a brief introduction about what DAAD actually is, and then talk about a few of the scholarship opportunities that we offer.
Thank you, Hani, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us, taking the time. Hope that the information you get here today proves useful to you. Before we get into the main part of the program here, the webinar, which will focus on our funding opportunities, we wanted to give you a little bit of information about our organization itself. This is interesting all for itself, but may prove instructive to you if you decide to apply to us. So what is DAAD? So DAAD is the German acronym for Deutscher Akademischer Austauschdienst, which means German Academic Exchange Service. And as that name would suggest, we are an organization tasked with academic cooperation and exchange. We were founded in 1925, so we have a long history behind us. As a way of connecting Germany, and specifically students and its universities and scholars who work there, to the world. And what is it that we do? Well, we have a mandate to foster that connection between German universities and their counterparts around the world, and we primarily accomplish this goal through a number of funding opportunities, scholarship and grant programs, both for Germans who wish to go from Germany out into the world, and for individuals such as yourself who are at academic institutions around the world who want to go to Germany for study, research, or in some cases, internship purposes. Our mandate covers a few different areas. So we offer scholarship and grant programs for students at all stages and in all fields of study. We also have a mandate to support the continued study of the German language and culture around the world. We're a fairly large organization. We have 71 offices and information centers around the world, 3 of which are here in North America, 1 in San Francisco, where my colleague Hani works, another in New York, where the colleague Myung-Shin works, and then again here for Canada in Toronto. Annual budget, this is a little bit old information. In the 2017 budget, we were already well over 500 million euros. In Canadian dollars, I'm afraid I'm not totally up to speed on what the current American exchange rate is. That's nearly $800 million annually. And we use that to move many, many people. Over 130,000, it says here. I believe we're approaching 140,000 annually now. So a large number of people benefit from DAAD programs. As I mentioned, we have those 3 offices, but we also have a network of DAAD affiliated scholars. So we have research ambassadors, and those are faculty who have had an extended experience conducting research in Germany, and they're in a variety of institutions across North America and in a variety of disciplines. So if you're looking for guidance, particularly if you're thinking about graduate studies and that sort of thing, it might be helpful for you to seek out the research ambassador profiles on the DAAD website. Or we also have young ambassadors who are undergraduate students who have recently returned from an experience in Germany, typically 3 months or longer, who are interested in promoting Germany as a destination for study and research to their peers. And again, we have profiles on them and information about what institutions they're at. They are totally accessible to you as well. So if you have questions about the study experience in Germany, perhaps you wish to track some of those people down and write them an email, they'll be happy to get back to you and answer the questions to the extent that they can. So that's a little bit about DAAD. Other very useful online resources that you may want to have a look at, the Study in Germany website. So this is a portal that's really dedicated to all aspects of pursuing a degree in Germany. But for those of you who are considering going to Germany for a semester, for an extended period, for whatever reason, you'll find all sorts of information on there relating to those types of stays. So accommodation, cultural acclimatization, what you can expect from support from international offices, etc. So it's a really useful website. It's also very good for those of you who may be considering going to Germany to pursue a degree, as I mentioned. So this is especially feasible once you've finished a bachelor degree here in North America. Bachelor degrees from accredited North American universities typically qualify students to pursue master's level study in related fields at a German university. As many of you may be aware, many study programs in Germany are tuition free, and this extends also to non-EU passport holders and non-Germans. So possibility exists that you might be able to do a master's program in English for no tuition costs. You can find out information about those study programs on the Study in Germany website. And then another source for study programs that might be of interest to you is the Higher Education Compass, which is a website put together by a number of German universities themselves. So we can move on to the next one. As I mentioned, we have offices in both our countries here and separate websites. So for those of you who are based in the United States, the DAAD website for the US is daad.org. And here in Canada, we have the DAAD Canada website at daad-canada.ca. And there's information in there both in English and in French. And finally, you'll find information on DAAD also on the DAAD Germany website. It's important to point out that information on our scholarship and grant programs is linked to a main database in DAAD's German website. So a lot of content that you'll find both there and on our 2 websites is mirrored. We have a little bit more specific information on our Canada and US websites for students in our regions, trying to make things as clear as we possibly can. But ultimately, you would be directed to apply to the DAAD Germany website, just so you understand how things work there, where you're being taken, et cetera, et cetera. So, another related issue about studying in Germany is, of course, around cost. Germany is very cost competitive. So not only are there many tuition-free programs, but the cost of living in Germany for students is quite reasonable. Now, this will naturally vary by location. There are, of course, more expensive and less expensive places to do your studies. But on average, students can expect to spend between 850 and 950 euros a month. As we see in the table on the right at the top, there are a number of cities with universities where it's considerably less expensive. And then on the other hand, a number of others, a number of regions where it is more expensive. So this is designed to give you a bit of an overview of what you might expect to pay if you were thinking about pursuing degree studies in German. But now let's shift gears and get into some of the programs that we have to support your possible stay in Germany. So we have an opportunity for German language learners. As I mentioned at the outset, our mandate includes fostering the continued study of German language. And one of the ways we do that is through the University Summer Course Grant. This is open to students at all stages, bachelor, master's, or PhD level. And what it is it provides a 950 euro lump sum payment plus a partial travel reimbursement for the transatlantic flight and health insurance to participate in a 3 or 4 week summer course offered by a German university. Now, these summer courses need to have a distinct German language component, but they often have thematic or disciplinary content as well. So it's fair to say there are many hundreds of these programs. You can identify what is being offered next summer at this URL in the second last bullet point, summerschools.de. And if you find one in there that is of interest to you, you could apply for this scholarship to help offset the costs of participating. Now, naturally, there are requirements for previous German knowledge. We need students to have a minimum of an A1 level and at least 4 semesters or the equivalent of university level German instruction at the time that they go. So if you've had some German in high school, it's possible you could get some credit for that and already apply for this grant in your first year. In most cases, students are applying in their second or third year, or as I mentioned, later on in their master's program or during their doctoral studies. But at any rate, it's open. This is a wonderful opportunity to get to Germany to improve your German. The deadline this year is coming on December the 1st. So at this point, I'm going to hand the baton off to my colleague, Myung Shin. She'll give you some information on some further programs.
Thanks, John Paul. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to introduce the next slide, which is one of the most popular grants, the study scholarship for all academic disciplines. It is open to graduating seniors, graduate students, and recent graduates for a full master's degree program at a German university, or for a study abroad stay at a German university as part of a master's degree program completed in the home country. The grant can be used for 1 or 2 years of study in Germany. Since German universities also offer a lot of master's degree programs that are completely taught in English these days, German knowledge is not a requirement for the study scholarship, but German language ability should be commensurate with your needs of the applicant's study. Recipients will be awarded a monthly stipend of 850 euros, and DAAD will also cover health and liability insurance and provide a flat rate travel subsidy and a rent subsidy in certain cities. The deadline for the study scholarship for all academic disciplines is November 5th. So it's coming up. I also want to quickly mention the deadlines for the study scholarship for the performing and visual artists. So the deadline for music is October 15th, and for performing arts is on October 31st, and for fine arts, film, and design is on November 30th. And these study scholarships for visual and performing artists, it's strictly administered by our head office. So applicants have to strictly follow their guidelines and submit all the materials to our head office in Germany. I just want to mention that. Let's move on to the research grant. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about some of the research and internship opportunities. So the research grant, it is awarded, it is also one of the popular grants. It is awarded for 1 to 10 months during the German academic year to graduating seniors, graduate students, and postdocs. Here, I should point out that the postdocs are only eligible from the short-term research grant. This is one of the changes we have starting this year. Applicants are expected to have a very well-defined research project. And in terms of the timeline between the short and the long term, the short term is considered for a research between 1 to 6 months, and the long term is between 7 to 10 months. So you should select from the drop-down menu depending on the length of your research project when you're in the portal. And that'll guide you to the right program. For the research grant, it is also essential to submit an invitation by German host institution. They could say that they'll welcome you, they know your project, and they can provide the materials or facility that you need for your research. So the monthly stipend is 1,200 euros, and DAAD will also cover health and liability insurance and provide a travel subsidy and the rent subsidy. The deadline is November 5th. It's coming up, just like the study scholarship, both for the long and short-term research grant. And there is an additional deadline just for the short-term research grant, which will be May 1st, 2019. Let's move on to the German study research grant. This grant is open to undergraduate and graduate students, and it can be used for short-term research between 1 to 2 months. For this grant, it is important that applicants are nominated by their department or program department chairs. Some of the requirements are that applicants should have at least 2 years of college-level German or equivalent and at least 3 courses in German studies by the time of application. Grant amount is prorated and provides $2,000 to $3,000 US to offset living and travel costs in Germany. The deadlines are November 1st and May 1st. And I believe the next slide we are going to hand over again to John Paul, I believe.
Yep, thanks, Björn. Yes, I have the opportunity to present to you one of our most popular programs now, RISE. So RISE actually constitutes 2 different programs. The first one is directed at undergraduate students in natural science and engineering fields, as well as computer science. RISE stands for Research Internships in Science and Engineering, and it's geared primarily to students, undergraduate students in those fields who are in their 3rd year of study. And what it does is it matches exceptional undergraduate students from North America and the UK with doctoral students in Germany. The undergraduate students are sent to Germany for a summer research internship opportunity that runs between 2 and 3 months in length. And the way this system works is it's an online web-based matching process. DAAD in Germany gathers project descriptions every fall. They vet these, and those that pass muster are placed into an online database that goes live on November the 1st. At that time, any of you who are interested in this program could create a profile, gain access to all of these project descriptions, choose up to 3 of interest, and then complete a short online application. And if you're successful, you would receive a scholarship to cover your living expenses, along with an international travel subsidy, health insurance, and then assistance in finding housing in Germany from your host scholar. No German is required. Students have the opportunity to participate in a 2-week intensive language course before they begin their placement, but there's no German needed in the lab. The working language is English. So it's a really great opportunity. We place about 300 interns every year. As you can see, 2017, the competition was quite fierce, about 1,700 applications for 300 spots, but still not a bad ratio. And I can honestly say in the 5 years plus that I've worked with DAAD, I have never heard a student have a bad experience on RISE. They always come back really enthusiastic. So if you're working in any of these fields, studying in any of these fields, do consider filing an application. Second-year students are welcome to apply as well, but by and large, the successful applicants come from the third-year cohort. So you would apply in the fall term of your third year or your second year, and then you would hear some point early in the new year, and then head to Germany in the following summer semester. All right, move on. As I mentioned, RISE, there's 2 programs here. RISE Professional offers alumni of the undergraduate RISE program and students at the graduate level, that is master's or PhD, again, in the natural science and engineering fields plus computer science. It offers them the opportunity to do a workplace internship in Germany, up to 3 months in length. Here, some German can be necessary and or useful, as many of the job settings, workplace settings, would require some German, but not all of them. There are opportunities to work in English in Germany. So if you're at this level and interested in this sort of opportunity, look into it. Depending on the level of the participant, the monthly stipend paid out is anywhere between 750 and 1,000 euros a month. Participants also get the opportunity to participate in a 3-day RISE meeting in Germany, so where all the RISE scholars from abroad come together at the DAAD's head office, chance to meet people from different corners of the world working in fields related to yours, so all expenses paid. And again, possibility for an intensive language course before starting that internship exists here as well. Once again, this is an online application system with the database for these internship opportunities opening on November 1st, and the deadline for application submissions, December the 15th. Now, you've sat here for half an hour, 25 minutes, listened to all these amazing opportunities, and you're thinking to yourself, of course I have to apply for all of them, or at least a number. And how can I do this, and how can I increase my chances for success? So there are a few tips that we can give you. First of all, you will need to provide us with a statement of motivation for almost all of our programs and explain to us why you want to do what it is you are proposing we fund. So it's important here to tell a story, give us a bit of a narrative arc, tell us where you are now and how this activity is crucial to your academic or your professional goals and where it will take you. I can tell you that from a DAAD perspective, we are interested in fostering lifelong connections to Germany. So of greatest interest to us are people who can make the case that this is a starting point for them and that they will make use of this throughout their lives. So tell us how this will help you now and how you think it would help you in the future. And if you can make clear how you would keep those connections you will make to Germany alive and active, mention that as well. You should also pay careful attention to providing us with as strong a letter of recommendation support as you can. Obviously, you will not be drafting this. This will come from a professor in your major field of study. One tip that we have when you're approaching a professor for this letter is to formulate your request as follows. Don't simply ask if they'd be prepared to provide you with a letter of recommendation, but explicitly ask for a strong letter of recommendation. So we do not adjudicate these applications ourselves. DAAD oversees the adjudication process. These are reviewed by professors from North American universities, some from Germany originally, many not. They come from all fields of study, so we try to have a peer review process. So a professor in your field or in a very closely related field would give your application a close reading. And oftentimes, we do not suffer for highly qualified candidates. So the adjudication process comes down to professors looking for the differences between candidates. And one of the key items in the application is that letter of recommendation from a prof. So I have sat in on an adjudication. I know Myung oversees these on a regular basis. It's remarkable how often the professors refer to those letters of reference. So ask the profs that you know, that you have some sort of relationship with, whether they can provide those, and try to make sure that they provide a strong letter of reference. Of course, we're a German organization, and it wouldn't be proper if we didn't at least confirm some of the stereotypes around us in this presentation. Yes, punctuality and thoroughness matter from a DAAD perspective. So we have deadlines for these programs, obviously, and they are quite hard and fast. We are not able to accept partially complete applications. They must be fully complete and on time, or we can't consider them. This is really a technical issue in many cases, not simply the fact that we're heartless. The online portal shuts, is set to shut at a specific time, and once that time has passed, it's literally impossible for us to augment a file or to upload a full application. We have program officers, such as Myung, in New York, who are assigned to each program. So when you go on the program pages on our website, you will find contact information there. Drop a line, and we will do our best to assist you. So there's some online resources that we've put together for putting together DAAD applications. It's important to note DAAD applications can be a little bit involved. You will not be able to pull one together over a weekend. So what I would suggest is, if you're interested in any of these programs, first step would be go online, familiarize yourself with the program and what elements an application involves, and start pulling them together. We have this presentation early in the semester for a reason. Many of our deadlines come up during the fall semester in October and November, start of December. So look into it. We also have a video, helpful video on the DAAD's YouTube channel. You can find it at this URL here in the second bullet point, which gives you some information, some orientation on DAAD's online portal. So that's how you will be filing your application. If you want some orientation, some information on how that's all going to work, that may be a helpful video for you. And in the first bullet point, we also have a frequently asked questions document that you can refer to that helps address some of the common issues that people have when putting together a DAAD application. Finally, before I hand things back over to Honey, we have one more slide with some online resources. So we've already gone over the websites, daad.org for those of you in the US, and daad-canada.ca for my fellow Canadians. Also touched on the Study in Germany website, excellent resource for orienting yourself on the issues involved and the opportunities open to you for degree studies. Higher Education Compass, similar. For those of you who are thinking of graduate level studies, particularly PhD studies, I would suggest that you take a visit to the Research in Germany website. I notice we don't have the up-to-date URL here. It's research-in-germany.org. But if you simply Google Research in Germany, it will take you there. There's a dedicated section for doctoral students on there, how doctoral studies are structured. It can be a little bit different than here in North America, and funding opportunities that exist. There are many there. So DAAD does not offer funding of full PhD degrees in Germany, but many other German organizations do. And if that's of interest to you, researchingermany.org is a great place to orient yourself. And finally, you've heard all about DAAD funding opportunities. We are the main program for student level funding, but there are other organizations that do, particularly once you get to the master's and doctoral level, do offer programs. You can find information on not just DAAD programs, but also those offered by other German funding organizations in a highly usable, searchable funding database found on the DAAD Germany website at funding-guide.de. And I believe with that, I will hand back to
It's my turn now. Thank you, John Paul, and thank you, Myung-Chin, for presenting today. And just a little add for the funding guide. If you are maybe listening to this webinar live or maybe later on, if you're not currently enrolled at a U.S. or Canadian institution, but you're interested in all available funding for your country, you can also visit the funding guide website to find out what funding is available in your country. As John Paul pointed out at the beginning of this webinar, we do have offices worldwide, and we do serve the other countries as well with opportunities to study in Germany. That was just a little side remark. And finally, and I have another one, I guess, that I need to correct. So we do have, as Jean Paul said earlier, 2 websites specifically for information for USA and Canada. We do have also a DAAD USA and DAAD Canada Facebook and Twitter account, and also Instagram. And DAAD Canada does not have an Instagram account. I don't know why I added that, but that's certainly something that I need to correct for before I upload that. But definitely get in touch with us. Also, I will add the correct link so you can subscribe to the DAAD USA and DAAD Canada newsletters, so you're up to date of upcoming events, but then also upcoming deadlines. I do have already a few questions, and we'll get to them in a little bit. I know Myung-Chin is a little bit tight on time, so I wanted to give her a few minutes to add on some best practices for the applications. As John Paul mentioned, Myung-Chin is our senior program officer for the study scholarship, but also research grant in the New York office, and she has said in a lot of the meetings with professors where they talk about the application. And so, Myung-Chin, do you have some best practices, or maybe this is what comes up frequently and for students maybe that are not successful, and then maybe why they're not successful? Any insight you can share with us on that one?
Yes. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have prepared a little bit of a criteria that we want to look at. So all these funding programs that we have introduced to you today, so the selection of these funding programs, it's all merit-based in general. The DAAD selection is merit-based. The particular selection criteria, especially because I've been at selection meetings a lot, for the study scholarship and research grant, we look at the applicant's track record in academic performance and personal achievement, and also whether the research project or study plan is well defined and has merit. For instance, in the case of study scholarships for master's programs, since it's not a research proposal, students should indicate the convincing reasons. I believe John Paul mentioned that before, that your choice of the program is suitable to further your academic and professional goals. And also, students should make clear in their proposals how beneficial a stay at the German host institution that they listed on their applications would be good for them and for their project. And also for the research grant, we also look at the grant period. Research grant applicants also have to submit a time schedule, which means whether they apply for 5 months or 10 months, the requested funding period has to be appropriate for the goal of the proposal. So if someone applies for 5 months and the proposal is really broad range of big project, then it might not look good. So yeah, this is about the selection criteria that I think it's relevant for applicants to know.
Youngshin, I actually have a follow-up question from someone in the audience in regards to the research grant application. You mentioned that a well-defined project is essential. Could you a little bit elaborate on that a little bit, what that actually means, and also like what kind of invitations from the host institutions you accept? So, for example, is only like an official letter on a letterhead acceptable, or what kind of other forms of invitation do you accept?
Okay, so well-defined. First, a well-defined project for the research grant is. I can see the question. How much details should? I always suggest. This is a very good question, and I always suggest as detailed as possible, because we invite more than close to 40 committee members in various fields, and we try to cover most of the fields, and they're all experts in their fields. And if we receive, let's say, for instance, Indology or something exotic in the natural sciences, very specific field, then we also request a review to an expert. We try to find an expert, and then we ask that. So I would always say as detailed as possible.
And as you pointed out, it's someone from the field, so definitely when you write this research proposal, have an informed audience in mind, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, they really know. Sometimes I'm amazed how much these faculty members and experts know, and they do really know. So as detailed as possible is always better. And your second question, the invitation letter, it also depends on the proposals, the content of the proposal. So if you only go to carry out your independent archival work, then you just need a little email even, or little letter from the library or archives indicating that, yes, we have the material, the applicants can come anytime during this hours. But if it's a specific collaboration with the host institution and they work on the same project, then we need more detailed invitation letter from the host. Who, and she or he can indicate the project and that they are prepared and they are aware of this particular research that applicants have proposed.
Great, thank you. So again, yes, of course.
Young, for the research proposals, there's a page limit, right?
Yes. So yeah, this is a little tricky part. On our head office's website, DAAD.de website, it indicates the maximum of 10 pages. But you have to understand this, our head office's standard application guidelines is for the entire world. So our selection members and our specific application guidelines indicate, which is on the DAAD.org or DAAD Canada website, the maximum page is 5. So the proposal should not go beyond 5 pages.
Thank you. And I think that's important to note, not just for the research grant application, but also for other funding opportunities, to really make sure that you are on the DAAD USA or DAAD Canada website, really for specific application instructions for the USA and for Canada.
Yes.
Another question in regards to the invitation letter. This is also, again, for the research grant. The question is, where should I submit the invitation letter? I only find a reference form from the DAAD application portal that is supposed to be signed by my U.S. advisor. That's a good general question in how to upload information. So if there is no specific section for a specific document, Myung-Shin, where should the applicants upload the document, the supporting document?
Yeah, okay. So for both for the study scholarship and for the research grant, 1-year grant or research grant co-tutel, on each page, I have put an application checklist, both. And the item that you mentioned, letter confirming supervision by an academic advisor in Germany, which refers, that's the item number 6. Mm-hmm. So after your time schedule of your research, that would be the next item. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so again, these are almost identical, the application guidelines on the DAAD.de website and DAAD.org or Canada's website, but I would like to suggest that every applicant, before they start, and they should really start early enough, I would say maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the deadline, you should print out the PDF file of the application checklist and just go prepare all these documents as a PDF file and just upload it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to mention, well, since we talked about deadlines and being on time, keep in mind that the portal closes at a certain date, German time. So especially that's relevant for applicants from the Western region of the United States or Canada. A lot of the times those deadlines end up being at maybe 3 p.m. West Coast time. And so really have your personal deadline ideally set for maybe even a day prior, just to make sure that you don't miss the deadline, that you have enough time to respond should there be any technical issues, for example. I have another general question, and I'm not sure if actually Myung-Shin, you can answer this, or maybe even we have our new colleague, Nicola from the DAAD Toronto office with us, who's just listening, but maybe she has an answer to that since she pursued a PhD in Germany. So the question is about health insurance. Myung-Shin, what kind of health insurance do individuals receive when they do receive DAAD funding?
So the scholarship winners receive private health insurance, mm-hmm. Which is called Continentale. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is not a student health insurance, but universities accept this private health insurance as well. It's just as a student, you must have a health insurance in Germany, and it is if you're a scholarship winner, then it'll be automatically provided. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, there is. I would say the private health insurance actually covers more, so probably it would be better than a student health insurance.
So if someone, and this is maybe the question for Nicola, since she received her PhD in Germany, but do you know, like, if someone were to pursue a PhD in Germany or maybe just go for research, like, would they be able to receive student health insurance as well?
Yeah, so actually I did my PhD in Canada.
Oh,
so
okay, never mind.
To answer that question, but I can still speak to that topic because that health insurance the DAAD is offering, the DAAD doesn't only offer this health insurance to international students coming to Germany, but also to German students and scholars going abroad, which would be my case. So I have that health insurance, and I've had very good experiences with it in Germany. As Yun-Shin said, it's a private insurance, which gives you a lot of advantages in the healthcare system. And student insurance by the public health insurances in Germany that you were referring to, I believe you can only have it until a certain age, probably between 26 and 28. And I'm not quite sure if, well, actually, I think the criteria is that you have to be enrolled at a German university.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so important, or your country of origin is not so important here, but I double check with the international offices at the German universities.
Yeah, so just to summarize, if you do receive DAAD funding, you don't have to worry about health insurance. That's part of the funding that you receive from us. If you end up going to Germany because you want to do research or you want to study and you do not receive DAAD funding, I would just encourage you to go to your university's international office. They certainly are able to provide you with more information. And then also on the Research in Germany and the Study In website, there is also information on health insurance and the various providers and what kind of insurance you can get.
Sorry, can I just point to one more aspect?
Yes.
If you do qualify for the student insurance in Germany, that is price-wise more attractive than the DAAD insurance. However, the DAAD insurance covers you worldwide. So even if you go to like on a trip or research outside of Germany, that research would still cover you.
And we do have and that's not a question, that's just a nice comment from Rebecca. Thank you for sharing that. She said she did her PhD in Germany, and she said that the German institute set the health insurance up, and she said she had excellent health insurance. So even though we may not provide you with the exact details, you definitely will be able to receive health insurance, and you'll be covered should you need to go to a doctor on a regular basis, or if you potentially have an emergency. I have a question from someone who says he's an Ethiopian PhD student currently studying in Ethiopia, working at a private organization, and asks if he or she is eligible for research grants. And that's just a question that I'm just going to take over. Eligible for the funding through DAAD USA and DAAD Canada, and that's you will apply through the DAAD New York office, are only individuals that are currently enrolled or work as researcher at a Canadian or US institution. For that, US citizenship or Canadian citizenship is not required, but you need to be full-time enrolled or full-time faculty member, researcher at a Canadian or US institution. For anyone else listening live, or if you listen to this webinar later, you can visit the funding-guide.de website, and that includes also all available funding for other countries. I do have one question about funding opportunities for undergraduates. If you are familiar with DAAD, you may be missing a grant called the Undergraduate Scholarship that is not available at this point anymore. And so for Canada, maybe Jean-Paul or Nicola, are you aware of maybe alternative funding opportunities for individuals who want to go for a whole semester or academic year?
No.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
So many Canadian institutions have bursaries for their study abroad students, but I am not familiar with any specific one. Students based in Ontario might look to see whether their university is a member of the Ontario Baden-Württemberg exchange program. They have some support programs, although I don't believe that extends to full scholarships for the entire period of the study abroad stay, but there are some supports available through that. So your study abroad office member, but I'm afraid I'm not familiar with any other programs that would substitute for the program we were able to offer in the past.
So what I would say in general then is just, if you are listening from Canada, go to your study abroad office, go to your financial aid office, and talk to your advisors. They may know what kind of funding is available. If you want to go for a semester or an academic year for the US, I know you can check out the Fund for Education Abroad. They do have funding that's also you can use for a semester or a year in Germany, but also this is available for summer opportunities, and this is available for programs that is organized through a university, but they also cover funding for third-party providers. I do actually, if one of you here, Jean-Paul or Nicolas Myung-shin, if you could just talk for 2 minutes, maybe answer some questions. I need to grab my cable so that my computer doesn't die on me. If maybe you want to add some additional information, I'll be back in just 1 minute.
Yeah, actually, I can add something to the question about other scholarship opportunities.
Nicola, sorry. Before you start, I have to go, so I just want to thank everybody. Unfortunately, we have a lot of events today and meetings, so thank you so much for attending the webinar, and we are always here for any questions, so please send emails, and I look for many applications from you guys. Okay. All right, sorry. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, as I was saying, I know of at least 2 other scholarships that are open to all nationalities. The one is called Deutschlandstipendium, so Germany scholarship, and the other one is called Baden-Württemberg, which is a province of Germany, Baden-Württemberg Stipendien. If you Google these 2 scholarships, you will find a website with more information. And then there is also another website called Stipendienlotse, that is scholarship indicator, Stipendienlotse. Perhaps Hani can send out that.
Yes, I will add that to the slides.
Exactly. And this is actually a search engine similar to the one on studyin.de, and it actually gives you access to many more opportunities, also by a lot of foundations in Germany. And while most scholarships are geared towards German students, there are indeed also some that are open to all nationalities.
Great, thank you, Nicola. I do have one question from Young-Shin, and I know she has another appointment here, but I just very briefly wanted to ask you, Young-Shin, about the language evaluation. So for someone, since we said that German language skills are only required if it's required for the studies and for the research, if someone were to study in English or research in English, do they still need to submit the language form? And if so, how would they indicate that they don't need any German for that? Would you just clarify that? And then I know you have to go.
I'm afraid she's already gone.
Oh,
Honey.
She's already gone. Oh, no. Jean-Paul, do you have more insight on that?
To the best of my knowledge, the language evaluation form is to be submitted with all applications, whether German is required or not. If it is usually self-evident in the application, if the activity will be conducted in English, but the form, to the best of my knowledge, is to be submitted with a note at the top saying not necessary for the activity. The other salient point around the language evaluation is even if the activity you're applying to do doesn't require German, but you have some German, it's always advisable to submit that form, get yourself evaluated by a member of the German teaching faculty at your university, because often German language knowledge is one of the ways that applicants are separated. So if they have two equivalent candidates, one with some German, one without, they will almost invariably take the student who has some German. So if you have that, you should definitely submit that along with your application.
Great, thank you, Jean-Paul. Yeah, and I think that's a good point. If you have any connection to Germany, if you know some German, it's certainly a good idea to point that out, because it just shows that you do have already a connection and you're interested in continuing that, to continue working with Germans and German labs. So it's certainly good to add that if you have those skills. I don't see any additional questions here that I missed. If you do have more questions, or if somehow I did miss your question here, please feel free to get in touch with us. As I said, this webinar is recorded. I will send the follow-up with the recording link and also with a presentation to you, so you have our contact information as well. Always go to our websites and check the information there. We have an extensive FAQ page, but certainly do not hesitate to get in touch with us. Should you have any questions, you can find it on our website. Just something that I wanted to briefly mention. We are a big organization, but we have small offices here in the US and in Canada. October, November is usually the time where we travel quite a bit. So please allow a little bit of time extra for us to respond. And that's another reason why we encourage you to start your application as early as possible, so that if there are any questions, there is enough time for us to respond. But again, if you do have questions, feel free to call us or send us an email. And with that, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Jean-Paul, for joining us and for presenting. Nicola, thank you also for joining us and for providing some information that was really useful. And again, we do have some webinars coming up with our DAAD office in Germany, where we do talk to university representatives. So check out the webinar page on DAAD.org for upcoming webinars with German universities that are coming up in October in a few weeks. And with that, I'd like to thank you for listening, for attending this webinar. Again, thank you, Jean-Paul. And Nicola, thank you, Myeong-shin, even though you're not online anymore. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and see you soon. Bye.